How utterly boring, I muttered, flicking through the holographic survey data with a dismissive tap of my upper appendage. Another oxygen-breathing species on another watery rock. Congratulations to the exploration fleet for discovering what must be the 10,000th variation of bipedal mammals in our sector alone. My name is Zorak Tull, Senior Evaluator for the Galactic Union's Expansion Division, and I was not having a good solar cycle. The Union Council had been breathing down my neck ridges about increasing our territory, but the pickings had been slim lately. Most new discoveries were either barren rocks, gas giants with nothing but floating bacteria, or worlds with pre-spaceflight primitives who'd require centuries of monitoring before contact. Then the humans happened. Sir, you really should look at page 47 of the report, my assistant Grek insisted. His eye stalks quivered with excitement, which was unusual for him. Grek was normally as emotional as a navigation computer. What could possibly be so fascinating about these, what are they called? Humans? I sighed dramatically and scrolled to the specified page. Let me guess. They have developed nuclear weapons and think that makes them special? Or perhaps they have written particularly moving poetry about their single, sad moon? They are classified as threat level, minimal, Grek said, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. That got my attention. Minimal? Not negligible? Not even low? I straightened all four of my spine segments. What could possibly justify that classification for a species that hasn't even established a unified planetary government? Grek's mouth flaps curled into what passed for a smirk among the Yizik. They are peaceful, but oddly prepared for war. That's an oxymoron, I snorted, releasing a puff of irritated pheromones. Read the report, sir. So I did. And for the first time in 30 cycles of evaluating potential addition species, I felt something akin to intrigue. The humans, these strange creatures from a planet they unimaginatively called Earth, presented a genuine puzzle. They possessed no unified government, spoke thousands of different languages, and spent inordinate amounts of time arguing about the most trivial matters. Yet, despite all that chaos, they had somehow avoided destroying themselves. Their military spending is disproportionate, I noted aloud. And they maintained these forces during peacetime? How fiscally irresponsible. That's not all, Grek said. Keep reading. The report detailed human history, a bloody affair full of conflicts both massive and minor. These creatures had clawed their way from caves to space stations while seemingly trying to exterminate themselves the entire time. But what caught my attention was their entertainment. They simulate war for fun? I clicked my mandibles in confusion. Their most popular cultural exports are fictional accounts of conflicts, both historical and imagined. Indeed, Grek confirmed. And notice how they have maintained military forces even during their longest peace periods. Most species demilitarize when not actively threatened. I leaned back in my hover chair, all 6 eyes blinking in sequence as I processed this information. So we have a fractured species with a penchant for violence, currently experiencing relative peace, but maintaining significant defensive capabilities just in case. It's fascinating. Completely irrational, but fascinating. The question is, Grek ventured, how will they respond to first contact? I waved a limb dismissively. Standard protocol. We will approach their governing bodies, demonstrate our technological superiority, and offer them probationary union membership in exchange for resources and territory. If they are intelligent, they will recognize the benefits of compliance. And if they don't? I laughed, a harsh clicking sound that echoed around my office. All I say, please, Grek. We represent over 400 advanced civilizations spanning 3 galactic arms. We have ships that could turn their oceans to vapor. We have technology they can't even comprehend. What could they possibly do? Oh, how those words would come back to haunt me. The diplomatic vessel Harmonious Integration entered Earth's solar system 2 orbital cycles later. I commanded the mission personally, partly because I was curious about these humans, but mostly because success would guarantee my promotion to the Oversight Committee. Approach vector calculated. Evaluator Tull reported navigator Plex from her control node. The humans have detected our presence and are broadcasting welcome messages in 46 different languages. How inefficient, I remarked. Respond in their most widely used language and inform them we will be establishing a temporary embassy in their United Nations facility. Captain Var, a hulking Drav Nid with battle scars across his carapace, looked uncomfortable. Sir, standard protocol suggests we should establish our position from orbit first. This show of force ensures cooperation. I considered this. The Drav Nid approach had merit. Most primitive species responded well to demonstrations of superior firepower. But something about these humans suggested caution. No, I decided. This species has unusual psychological patterns. Let's observe them up close first. Deploy the shuttle. Minimal escort. Var didn't approve, but he obeyed. Within hours, our delegation stood before the Human United Nations Security Council, a chaotic assembly of representatives from various territorial divisions. "We welcome you to Earth," said a female human with dark skin and elaborate head coverings. "I am Secretary General Amara Iwu. This historic day marks humanity's first contact with intelligent life beyond our world." I stepped forward, my translator module converting my clicks and whistles into their primitive sound-based language. "Greetings, humans. I am Senior Evaluator Zorak Tull of the Galactic Union. Your species has been observed and deemed potentially worthy of probationary membership in our collective." The room erupted in noise as humans began speaking over each other. How they accomplished anything with such inefficient communication was beyond me. "Silence," bellowed Captain Var, his translator amplifying his voice to painful levels. The humans fell quiet, many looking alarmed. "Perfect." "Thank you," I continued smoothly. "As I was saying, the Galactic Union offers you technology, protection, and access to interstellar trade networks. In exchange, we require certain accommodations." "What kind of accommodations?" asked a male human with pale features and bright orange fur atop his head. "Nothing onerous," I assured them. "Merely access to your uninhabited territories, mining rights to your asteroid belt and outer planets, and a modest tribute of biological resources. Perhaps 30% of your annual food production? We find some of your vegetation quite delectable." The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. "You are asking for nearly a third of the food we produce?" Secretary General Iwu asked, her voice carefully controlled. "That would cause widespread famine." I clicked my mandibles in what I hoped translated as sympathetic. "A temporary hardship for long-term gain. Consider the technology we offer in exchange. Clean energy, extended lifespans, faster-than-light travel." Another human, this one wearing a blue uniform adorned with metal symbols, leaned forward. "And if we decline your generous offer?" Something in his tone triggered a warning pulse in my nerve cluster. I surveyed the room more carefully and noticed several uniformed humans standing along the walls. Their postures seemed relaxed, but their eyes remained fixed on our delegation with unsettling intensity. "Declining would be unwise," Captain Var interjected before I could respond diplomatically. "The Union has standard protocols for non-compliant species." "Does it now?" The uniformed human replied, smiling in a way that displayed teeth, a gesture I now recalled was not always friendly among humans. "General Thomas Parker, United States Joint Chiefs. Perhaps you'd care to elaborate on these protocols?" I decided intervention was necessary. "What my security captain means is that non-membership has opportunity costs. You would continue your slow technological development alone, vulnerable to less benevolent cosmic forces." "Sounds like a threat wrapped in diplomatic language," said another human representative. "Not at all," I protested, but the damage was done. I could sense the shift in atmosphere. These humans were not reacting with the expected awe and compliance. "Perhaps we should adjourn and allow you time to discuss our proposal among yourselves?" Secretary General Iwu nodded curtly. "That would be best. We will reconvene tomorrow." As we were escorted from the chamber, I transmitted a private message to Captain Var through our neural links. Prepare contingency measures. These humans may require additional persuasion. His reply was immediate. With pleasure, Evaluator. Back aboard the harmonious integration, I reviewed the preliminary scans of Earth's defensive capabilities. Their military technology was primitive chemical propellants, crude fission and fusion weapons, rudimentary electronic countermeasures. They posed no threat, Captain Var concluded confidently. Their most powerful weapons couldn't penetrate our basic shields. Their aircraft would be neutralized before reaching our lower atmosphere. Yet they seem unafraid, I mused. That Secretary General and the military human Parker showed no signs of intimidation. Ignorance breeds confidence, Var replied dismissively. They don't understand what they are facing. Perhaps, I said, not entirely convinced. Still, something doesn't add up. Their historical records show they are constantly preparing for conflicts, even theoretical ones against enemies that don't exist. Rek, who had been analyzing human communication networks, interrupted. Sir, I'm detecting unusual activity. Their military forces are mobilizing globally quietly, but definitely movement. Defensive posturing, Var said with a dismissive wave of his battle claw. Predictable and futile. Update me if anything changes, I instructed Grek. For now, let's prepare for tomorrow's meeting. I want a more impressive delegation. Bring the hover tanks and energy staff display units. The following day, we returned to the United Nations with triple the escort, a show of force I hoped would remind these humans of the power disparity between us. To my surprise, they had increased their security as well. Uniformed humans with primitive projectile weapons stood at regular intervals around the chamber. But more surprising was the change in attendees. Instead of just political representatives, the room now contained individuals identified as scientists, military strategists, and something called tech billionaires. We have considered your proposal, Secretary General Iubu began without preamble, and prepared a counteroffer. This was unexpected. Species at their development stage typically didn't counteroffer. They either accepted our terms or faced subjugation. A counteroffer? I repeated, trying to mask my surprise. I'm listening, though I should note the Union's terms are generally non-negotiable. A human with artificial supportive structures on his lower limbs wheeled forward. Dr. Ray Ventura, Quantum Physics. Before we proceed, we have some technical questions about your propulsion systems. And Captain Var clicked in amusement. Your species is nowhere near understanding our technology, human. Dr. Ventura smiled. Humor me. Your ships utilize a form of Einstein-Rosen bridge manipulation for FTL travel, correct? Creating localized wormholes through controlled quantum fluctuations? I felt my inner membranes constrict with shock. That was uncomfortably close to accurate. Before I could respond, another human spoke up. And your weapons systems, they are primarily focused on energy projection through artificially generated plasma conduits, what we might call directed energy weapons. Captain Var's posture stiffened. How could you possibly? We have been watching the stars for a long time, General Parker interrupted, that unsettling smile returning, and thinking about what might be out there. Both friendly and otherwise. A cold sensation spread through my nerve clusters. These humans had been developing theories about space warfare before they'd even achieved reliable interplanetary travel? Your counteroffer? I prompted, desperate to regain control of the conversation. Secretary General Iwu slid a primitive data storage device across the table. We propose a mutual exchange of cultural and scientific knowledge, limited trade agreements, and diplomatic recognition, with all parties maintaining their sovereignty and resource rights. Captain Var's translator couldn't fully convey his bark of laughter. You misunderstand your position, humans. This isn't a negotiation between equals. No? General Parker replied. Maybe you should check in with your ship. As if on cue, Grek's panicked voice erupted in my neural implant. Sir, the humans have launched multiple objects into orbit around our vessel. Destroy them. I sub-vocalized. "We can't," came Greg's alarming reply. "They are not registering on our weapons systems. They are using some kind of reflective technology that, wait, they are attaching to the hull." I maintained my external composure while internally commanding emergency protocols. "What seems to be the problem, General Parker?" "No problem at all," he replied pleasantly. "Just making sure we understand each other. Those are what we call diplomatic insurance policies attached to your ship. They contain what you might call directed energy initiators set to activate if certain parameters are breached." I felt my breathing orifices constrict. "You are threatening us with your primitive technology?" Dr. Ventura wheeled forward again. "See, that's where you made your mistake. You assumed, because we hadn't built something, we couldn't. We have had the theories for quantum displacement weapons for decades, we just never built them because we are not suicidal. But theories can become prototypes very quickly when necessary, added another human in a formal suit, especially when motivated by an existential threat." Captain Var was now receiving the same alarming reports I was. The objects attached to our ship were indeed radiating unusual energy signatures that suggested technology far beyond what humans should possess. "How did you develop this?" I demanded, abandoning diplomatic pretense. "You haven't even colonized your own system yet." Secretary General Iu leaned forward. "We are a fractured, chaotic species, Evaluator Tull. We fight amongst ourselves constantly. But we have been imagining alien invasions in our literature, films, and games for centuries. We have thought of every possible scenario, including this one. And we have been preparing, just in case." "Peaceful? Yes, when allowed to be," General Parker added. "Defenseless? Never." As the implications sank in, I realized the humans had been several steps ahead the entire time. They'd let us approach, assessed our technology through our own demonstration, and then revealed countermeasures we hadn't anticipated. "Perhaps," I said carefully, "we should revisit the concept of mutual diplomatic recognition. For the first time in my career as an evaluator, I was facing a species that had weaponized its own paranoia, and in doing so, it had achieved a state of readiness that even the Union's military strategists hadn't anticipated. The humans weren't just ready for first contact. They'd been rehearsing for it their entire civilized existence. The journey back to our ship was tense. Captain Var's exoskeleton clicked with barely contained rage while my own thought processes whirled in confusion. We had come to this backwater planet expecting submission, perhaps token resistance at most. Instead, we'd encountered a species that had somehow anticipated our tactics and prepared countermeasures. "This is unprecedented," I muttered as our shuttle docked with the harmonious integration. "How could they have developed quantum displacement technology? They have barely mastered basic space travel." "They are bluffing," Captain Var growled, though his secondary mandibles twitched with uncertainty. "No pre-FTL species could possibly understand the principles involved, let alone engineer functional devices." Greg met us at the airlock, his eye stalks drooping with stress. "Sir, our sensors have analyzed the human devices attached to our hull. They appear to contain quantum entanglement matrices similar to our own communication systems, but reconfigured for less benign purposes." "Impossible." Var slammed a battle claw against the bulkhead, leaving a sizable dent. That would require not only theoretical understanding of trans-dimensional physics, but also manufacturing capabilities beyond their technological level. I raised an appendage for silence. Clearly, we have underestimated these humans. The question now is, how do we proceed? The ship's strategic analysis chamber buzzed with nervous energy as my senior staff gathered. Holographic displays showed the human devices, 27 in total, attached strategically to our vessel's most vulnerable points. More disturbing were the real-time visuals of human military forces mobilizing across their planet. Fighter aircraft patrolled in organized formations. Missile systems tracked our position. Orbital platforms had adjusted to create a defensive web. "They have been preparing for this scenario," commented Science Officer Vela, her translucent membranes pulsing with analytical intensity. Not just recently. For generations. Explain, I demanded. Vela manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up intercepted human entertainment broadcasts. These are fictional scenarios they have been creating for over a century. Look at the similarities. The displays showed dramatic recreations of alien invasions, first contact scenarios, and interstellar conflicts. Many contained eerily familiar elements, initial diplomatic approaches followed by demands, then resistance, and finally, victory for the humans through unexpected technological solutions or strategic innovation. They have been wargaming first contact, I realized aloud, creating thousands of possible scenarios and responses, embedding them in their culture, making the concepts familiar to their population. But how did they make the leap from fiction to functional technology? That's the truly concerning part, Vela replied. I have analyzed their scientific publications from the past 50 years. They have been developing theoretical models for quantum mechanics, zero-point energy, and even rudimentary wormhole physics. They haven't built working prototypes because they lacked certain materials and energy sources until we arrived. We gave them the missing pieces, I groaned, feeling my chromatophores darken with dismay. Our very presence confirmed their theories and provided observable examples. And they reverse-engineered our technology within hours of our arrival, Grech added. The human scientists were asking remarkably specific questions during both meetings. They weren't gathering information, they were confirming what they already suspected. Captain Var's battle ridge flared with aggression. Enough speculation. We have superior firepower. We can obliterate their major population centers from orbit and force submission, and trigger those devices attached to our hull. I countered. Devices specifically designed to create quantum disruptions in our shield harmonics. We'd be destroyed along with them. Then we call for reinforcements, Var insisted. The Fifth Fleet could be here within 6 cycles. Science Officer Vela shook her head, her cranial fins rippling. 6 cycles would give humans time to produce more of these weapons, possibly even adapt the technology for offensive capabilities. Remember, they have already shown they can learn at an alarming rate. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. In all my cycles as an evaluator, I'd never encountered a situation like this. The Standard Union protocols were useless here. These humans had somehow turned the tables, creating a stalemate with a civilization thousands of years more advanced. We need to understand them better, I decided finally. Establish a secure communication channel with their Secretary General. I want a private conversation. Evaluator Tull, Secretary General Iwu's face appeared on the main communication screen. I was expecting to hear from you. You have created an unusual situation, I said, keeping my tone neutral, one that potentially threatens both our peoples. She nodded, unperturbed, or creates an opportunity for genuine cooperation rather than subjugation. The choice belongs to you. You must understand our perspective, I explained. The Union has encountered thousands of developing species. The protocol of controlled integration has proven most efficient in maintaining galactic stability. Efficient for whom? She asked pointedly. From where we stand, your protocol looks remarkably like conquest dressed in diplomatic language. I felt a flicker of irritation. Your species is showing dangerous signs of technological leapfrogging. You have bypassed natural development stages by copying our technology without understanding its full implications. This poses risks to the entire region. For the first time, Iwu smiled, a gesture I was beginning to recognize as potentially dangerous coming from humans. That's where you are wrong, evaluator. We haven't just copied your technology. In some ways, we have improved it. Impossible, I scoffed. Your quantum displacement weapons use artificial gravitational pinches to create the initial rupture, correct? Effective, but energy-intensive and difficult to calibrate. Ours use paired tachyon accelerators in a closed loop. Simpler, more stable, easier to mass-produce. I felt my digestive tract clench uncomfortably. She was right. How could they possibly know that? Reading my reaction, Yu continued. Humanity has a unique history. Evaluator. We have been divided, competitive, and yes, often warlike. But that chaos drove innovation at a pace ordered societies can't match. We specialize in thinking around corners, finding unexpected solutions, preparing for threats that might never materialize. So your entire species has been preparing for alien invasion? That's paranoid, not preparation. Adaptation. Yu leaned forward. Humans thrive on challenges. When we encountered your demands, thousands of our scientists began working on the problem simultaneously. No central direction, no unified approach, just millions of hours of collective problem-solving unleashed at once. I considered this. The Union species all evolved through careful, controlled development. Structured, ordered. Even our most innovative thinkers operated within established frameworks. The kind of chaotic, multidirectional adaptation she described was unsettling. None. What do you want, Secretary General? I asked finally. A genuine alliance, not subjugation disguised as mentorship. We have much to learn from you, certainly. But perhaps you have things to learn from us as well. I needed time to think. I will consult with Union leadership. This situation is unprecedented. Of course, she replied. In the meantime, our defensive measures remain in place. The communication ended, leaving me staring at a blank screen and facing the most difficult report of my career. The Union Council was not pleased. The 9 archons of the ruling conclave glared at me through the quantum entanglement projector, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs all radiating displeasure. You are suggesting we negotiate with these primitives as equals? He demanded Grand Archon Zix, his crystalline form shimmering with indignation. Based on a threat we cannot even verify is real? The threat is real, I insisted. Their quantum displacement technology is crude but functional. More concerning is their rate of adaptation. In less than 2 solar cycles, they have gone from theoretical understanding to practical application. Then eliminate them quickly, suggested Archon mentor of the Draev Nid Collective, his battle-scarred carapace gleaming under the lights of the council chamber. The 5th Fleet stands ready. I shook my head. By the time the fleet arrives, the humans will have had 6 more cycles to develop their technology. And they learn exponentially. Their fractured political system actually accelerates innovation through competition. You sound almost admiring, Evaluator Tull observed Archon Illith, the eldest of the council. Her gelatinous form pulsed with ancient wisdom. Does this species truly warrant special consideration? I chose my next words carefully. I believe the humans represent both a unique threat and an unprecedented opportunity. Their chaotic development pattern has produced innovations our ordered societies might never conceive. Rather than subjugate them, we might benefit more from true alliance. A ripple of shocked murmurs spread through the council. What I was suggesting violated 5,000 cycles of Union protocol. You realize what you are proposing. Grand Archon Zix's voice dripped with disdain. Elevating an unproven species to member status without the standard probationary period, without tribute or territorial concessions. I confirmed, feeling my career dissipating before my eye clusters. But consider the alternative. A protracted conflict with a species that turns our own technology against us with alarming speed. Even if we prevail, the cost would be substantial. Archon Illith's form shifted thoughtfully. There is precedent, long ago. The Vulcran were granted special dispensation due to their mathematical insights. The Vulcran had achieved system-wide colonization and stable governance, countered Zix. These humans are fractious primitives who still war among themselves. Perhaps, interjected Archon Talir of the Science Directorate, speaking for the first time. That very fractiousness is what makes them valuable. Our union has grown predictable. Our technological advancement follows established patterns. When was the last time we developed a truly revolutionary technology? An uncomfortable silence fell over the council. The truth was undeniable. Union science had plateaued over the last 1,000 cycles. Refinements and improvements, yes, but truly novel innovations? Those were increasingly rare. I propose a compromise, I suggested into the silence. A provisional alliance, not membership yet, but not subjugation either. We observe, we exchange knowledge carefully, we learn whether humans can truly control their warlike tendencies. And if they prove worthy, we reconsider their status. The debate raged for hours, but eventually a consensus emerged. Not because my arguments were particularly persuasive, but because the alternative, a costly conflict with an unpredictable outcome, was too risky for the usually conservative council. Return to Earth, Grand Archon Zix instructed me finally. Offer this alliance. But make it clear that any aggression, any attempt to weaponize our technology against Union interests, will be met with overwhelming force. Of course, Grand Archon, I agreed, concealing my relief. The humans will understand those terms perfectly. The negotiations lasted 3 Earth months. I remained on the planet's surface with a small delegation while Captain Var maintained orbit at a cautious distance from Earth's newly enhanced defense systems. What struck me most during this time was the humans' contradictory nature. The same species capable of designing quantum displacement weapons spent hours arguing about trivial cultural exchanges. They were simultaneously arrogant and insecure, peaceful and warlike, unified and divided. "You find us confusing," observed Dr. Ray Ventura during one late-night discussion session. The human scientist had become something of a liaison between our delegations, his brilliant mind grasping Union concepts with remarkable speed. "Profoundly," I admitted. "Your species seems to lack coherent direction." Ray laughed, a sound I was growing accustomed to. "That's our greatest strength, Zorak. We try everything, all at once. Most approaches fail, but the ones that succeed often do so spectacularly. Natural selection applied to ideas. But the inefficiency, I protested. The wasted resources. The Union achieved stability through unified purpose. And what happens when that purpose no longer serves you? When conditions change," Ray countered. "Humanity is messy, contradictory, and wasteful, but we are adaptable. We survive." I considered this. Perhaps there's wisdom in chaos, a concept the Union has forgotten. The final agreement was unprecedented in Union history. Earth would remain sovereign, neither subject nor full member of the Galactic Union. A limited exchange of technology would begin, carefully monitored to prevent weaponization. Human representatives would be granted observer status on various Union councils, while Union scientists would be allowed to establish research outposts on Earth and its moon. Most significantly, humanity would retain its military capabilities, a concession that nearly collapsed the negotiations multiple times. The Union had never permitted a non-member species to maintain independent defense forces. Yet in the end, pragmatism prevailed. The humans wouldn't surrender their security, and forcing the issue risked conflict. On the final day, as we prepared to formalize the treaty, Secretary General Iwu approached me privately. "This arrangement benefits us both," she said. "But I'm curious, Evaluator Tull. What changed your mind? You came here expecting our submission." I considered my answer carefully. "You showed me something I hadn't considered possible, a different path of development. The Union has existed for 50,000 of your years, growing through assimilation and controlled integration. We believed our way was not just the best path, but the only viable one. And now I wonder what other possibilities we have overlooked. What other species might have offered unique contributions had we approached them differently?" I gestured toward the view outside, a bustling human city teeming with chaotic energy. "Your people remind us that order isn't the only road to advancement. Sometimes, a little chaos breeds innovation." Iwu smiled. "We have a saying on Earth, necessity is the mother of invention. Nothing spurs human creativity like an existential threat. A philosophy the Union would consider dangerously unstable," I noted. "Yet here we are, she countered, negotiating as equals despite your technological advantages. Because humans, for all our divisions and flaws, have been rehearsing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars and wondered, are we alone? And more importantly, are they friendly? As I departed Earth the following day, returning to what would undoubtedly be a controversial reception within Union hierarchy, I carried with me a profound realization. The Galactic Union had grown complacent, assuming that our technological superiority guaranteed our continued dominance. We had forgotten a fundamental truth that humans instinctively understood: adaptation never ends. Safety is never guaranteed. Peace is valuable precisely because it isn't permanent. Humanity's response had indeed shocked the galaxy. Not because they defeated us, they hadn't, but because they reminded us of what we once were: innovative, adaptive, hungry for the stars. The Union would never be the same again, and perhaps that was exactly what we needed.